Kardama Muni was to leave his family life to completely engage in the service of the Lord. But since he knew that the Lord himself as Kapila had taken birth in his home as his own son, why was he preparing to leave home to search out self-realization or God realization? God himself was present in his home. Why should he leave home? Such a question may certainly arise. But here it is said that whatever is spoken in the Vedas and whatever is practiced in accordance with the injunctions of the Vedas is to be accepted as authoritative in the society. Vedic authority says that a householder must leave home after his 50th year. Panchashordhvam vanam vrajet. One must leave his family life and enter the forest after the age of 50. This is an authoritative statement of the Vedas based on the division of social life into 4 departments of activity: brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa. Kardama Muni practiced yoga very rigidly as a brahmachari before his marriage, and he became so powerful that attained so much mystic power that his father Brahma ordered him to marry and beget children as a householder. Kardama Muni did that also. He begot 9 good daughters and 1 son Kapila Muni, and thus his householder duty was also performed nicely, and now his duty was to leave. Even though he had the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son, he had to respect the authority of the Vedas. This is a very important lesson. Even if one has God in his home as his son, one should follow the Vedic injunctions. It is stated, Mahajano yena gatassa pantaha. One should traverse the path which is followed by great personalities. Kardama Muni's example is very instructive, for in spite of having the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son, he left home just to obey the authority of the Vedic injunction. Kardama Muni states here that the main purpose of his leaving home, while traveling all over the world as a mendicant, he would always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart and thereby be freed from all the anxieties of material existence. In this age of Kali Yuga, sannyasa is prohibited because persons in this age are all Shudras and cannot follow the rules and regulations of sannyasa life. It is very commonly found that so-called sannyasis are addicted to nonsense, even to having private relationships with women. This is the abominable situation in this age. Although they dress themselves as sannyasis, they still cannot free themselves from the 4 principles of sinful life, namely illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication and gambling. Since they are not freed from these 4 principles, they are cheating the public by posing as swamis. In Kali Yuga, the injunction is that no one should accept sannyasa. Of course, those who actually follow the rules and regulations must take sannyasa. Therefore, however, people are unable to accept sannyasa life, and therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stressed, Kalo nasti eva, nasti eva, nasti eva, gatir anyata. In this age, there is no other alternative than to chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The main purpose of sannyasa life is to be in constant companionship with the Supreme Lord, either by thinking of Him within his heart or hearing of Him through oral reception. In this age, hearing is more important than thinking, because one's thinking may be disturbed by mental agitation. But if one concentrates on hearing, he'll be forced to associate with the sound vibration of Krishna. Krishna and the sound vibration, Krishna, are non-different. So if one loudly vibrates Hare Krishna, he'll be able to think of Krishna immediately. This process of chanting is the best process of self-realization in this age. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya preached it so nicely for the benefit of all humanity. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat the translation. The personality of Godhead Kapila said, whatever I speak, whether directly or in scriptures, is authoritative in all respects for the people of the world. O Muni, because I told you before that I would become your son, I have descended to fulfill this truth. So Lord Kapila starts speaking to Kardama Muni. He says that I had promised that I would become your son, and that is why I have fulfilled that truth by becoming your son. Because whatever I speak, whether directly in the scriptures, is authoritative in all respects for the people of the world. So if he said he is coming as his son, then he has to fulfill it, and accordingly he has come as his son. So in this purport, Prabhupada has dealt with this question that was raised earlier by one of the devotees also here in the class. Why Kardama Muni had to leave his family life when the incarnation of the Lord himself is in the family? So Prabhupada has explained that here, that it is to respect and honor the words of the scriptures that Kardama Muni wanted to take sannyasa. Respecting the words of the scriptures is respecting the Lord. Faith in the words of the scriptures is faith in the Lord, direct faith in the Lord. So the instructions that are there in the scriptures cannot be slighted, cannot be ignored, cannot be altered, cannot be concocted. All great acharyas, including Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were extremely careful in this aspect and set an example, including Lord Krishna himself set an example, because these scriptures are the compass which will guide the humanity. So if the great authorities themselves break it, then everybody will start breaking these things. No doubt, the scriptures, there is the essence of scriptures, and there are detailed instructions also of the scriptures. There is the essential meaning of the scriptures, which is called the Mukhya Vritti, and there are subsidiary principles, applications of these, which is called what is that? Gauna and Mukhya, I think. Gauna. No, Gauna. Anyway, main principles and subsidiary principles. Mostly subsidiary principles are applications of that main principle. Now, the acharyas, according to time, place and circumstances, have the qualification to alter the secondary principles. They can alter the secondary principles, keeping intact the essence of or the purpose of these principles. Because time place and circumstances change, and the scriptures are the eternal. So therefore, something that is applicable to one yuga may not be applicable to another yuga, etc., as far as the applications are concerned. So otherwise, we will not be able to reconcile the fact that the acharyas introduce new things and they even change things. Just like Prabhupada also, as an acharya, in this Krishna consciousness movement, there are so many secondary injunctions which are there, were given a go by in the interest of the essential principle of preaching Krishna consciousness. Like Prabhupada gave sannyasa to those as per the scriptures, even Brahmin initiation also will be as per the one who has to be have to have all the qualifications of a Brahmana, which naturally comes by being trained from childhood with all the samskaras and everything. Then only they can get the Brahman initiation. The Brahman initiation itself is one of the in-between samskaras. So many samskaras you have to pass through. So Prabhupada didn't bother about all those things. Chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, 16 rounds for some time, for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. Then Prabhupada gave them Brahman thread and Brahman mantra. So this is also something that is not in line with the standard tradition, which is normally following the secondary principles of the scriptures also. Then there is so many things like that. He allowed women to go into the altars in the public temples. Prabhupada gave Gayatri mantra to women. Now, what are the thinking that has gone behind all these things? That we have to have faith in the spiritual master. We have to faith in the acharya. So every spiritual master cannot change, only acharyas can change. Acharyas are people who have understood the essence of all the scriptures, and they directly represent the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they are directed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to adopt practices and make changes which will essentially make everybody Krishna conscious. So as far as ordinary persons are concerned, it's not that the acharyas who change this have no regard for that injunction. They have great regard for those injunctions. So everything that Prabhupada changed in terms of application of secondary principles, they are all directed by the Lord. A normal person cannot change these things. Every tiny detail of the scriptural injunctions had to be respected as coming from the Lord. So keeping that principle in mind, naturally, without a second thought, Kardama Muni is getting ready to take sannyasa, even though the Lord is born in his family. So following the instructions of the Lord is more important, is the actual way of seeing the Lord every day. And how do you follow? You follow those the way in which the Mahajanas have followed. Mahajana yena gata sapantaha. One should traverse the path followed by the great Mahajanas who have set examples. So, then Prabhupada is explaining here that in Kali Yuga, again just see this, He himself is giving this example. There is an injunction that he should not take sannyasa. The question comes, why did Prabhupada give sannyasa? Next sentence is, of course, those who actually follow the rules and regulation must take sannyasa. That means the injunction he should not take sannyasa is a general injunction. So suppose somebody is actually there, that they understand the principle of these scriptural injunctions. Not it's a blanket thing. There may be 1 in a million who are even in Kali Yuga capable of being sannyasis. Not that nobody should take sannyasa. So that's what first Prabhupada explains. Of course, those who actually follow the rules and regulation must take sannyasa. Because why is this injunction there? You should not take sannyasa. Because it's difficult to follow. Suppose you find somebody who is capable of following, then you can take sannyasa. Then, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's why he said people are unable to accept sannyasa life. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Kalau nastyeva, 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 gatiranyata. So, one particular thing, Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, simply you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Because that is the way, the purpose of accepting sannyasa, which we saw in last purport also, is where constantly one can be in the companion of the Lord. That is the essence of being sannyasi. Constantly being in the companion of the Lord. Companionship of the Lord. So here, Prabhupada says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, by chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can actually be in the companion of the Lord. Thinking of Hare Krishna, thinking of the Lord in this yuga is very difficult. There is also another reason why sannyasa should not be taken, it is said. But if somebody is always chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then he can take sannyasa. Because Prabhupada is equating thinking of Krishna with oral reception of the holy name, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If one can constantly hear the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, receive the Lord through oral reception, that is as good as thinking of the Lord always. And that is the process that is easily practicable by people in this age. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why he took avatara as the holy name? That reason also Prabhupada is giving here. Because of the simple fact that we are not able to think of the Lord always, but it is easier to hear the Lord always. In this age, hearing is more important than thinking, because one's thinking may be disturbed by mental agitation. But if one concentrates on hearing, he will be forced to associate with the sound vibration of Krishna. Krishna and the sound vibration, Krishna are non-different. So if one loudly vibrates Hare Krishna, he will be able to think of Krishna immediately. This process of chanting is the best process of self-realization in this age. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya preached it so nicely for the benefit of all humanities. Let's read Prabhupada's Sannyas Leela. It's a long one, it takes 20 minutes to read. Srila Prabhupada's Sannyasa Smriti. Interaction with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur during Srila Prabhupada's Grahastha days. Excerpts from our Srila Prabhupada, a friend to all, compiled by Moola Prakriti Devidasi. Recollections by Sripada Nayananda Dasa Brahmachari Maharaj, Babaji Maharaj, a godbrother of Srila Prabhupada. The following recollection was recorded in an interview on March 9, 1999. Since that time, Sripada Nayananda Dasa Babaji Maharaj has left this world. Srila Nayananda Dasa Babaji Maharaj recollects. The last year that our Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, organized and performed Gaurumandal Parikrama, thousands and thousands of pilgrims assembled at our Champahati Mandira. There is a whole village of tents in all directions. On the afternoon of the last day, one of our godbrothers had just arrived in Navadvip, having returned from London by boat. He had gone to preach but had returned without meeting with full success. In the evening, while Guru Maharaj was giving pravachan, he explained that it was his earnest desire that the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should be spread in the Western countries. He told how it was the vision of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur that this would happen. And it was also the last request of his mother, Srimati Bhagavati Devi, to him before she left this world. Consequently, he had been willing to take the lifeblood of Gaudiya Math in funds to send devotees there to preach. But so far, these attempts have been largely unsuccessful. At this moment in his talk, I noticed that something very mysterious was happening. Guru Maharaj was looking out at the large crowd of devotees, especially in the front where all the sannyasis and brahmacharis in red cloth were. Then he turned his head and looked over to his left side where I was standing. He was looking intently at someone and became silent for a moment. I happened to look behind me and I clearly saw that the person with whom he was making eye contact was Abhaya Charnaravinda Prabhu. I thought that they were looking at each other in a special way. Then Guru Maharaj again addressed the audience in front of him and said, "But I have a prediction. However long in the future it may be, I predict that one of my disciples will cross the ocean and that devotee will bring back the whole world." Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I remembered this incident, and Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj truly made it come to pass exactly in this way. Next, Srila Prabhupada, the humble Grahastha Vaishnava. Srila Nayananda Das Babaji Maharaj recollects, Abhay Prabhu behaved very humbly to everyone, even though he was senior in many ways to most of the people who came later during those 11 years. He would always pay dandavat to others just because they had taken initiation first. Though he had made the devoted connection with our Gurudev first, he didn't formally take initiation until later on because of his family and his business. I clearly recall how very serious, simple and humble he was. Sometimes when I was in Calcutta, I would go to visit him at Sitakanta Banerjee Lane, where he had his home and chemical business. Sat Prasangananda Brahmachari, who is 93 years old now, and Satisha Prabhu, who is 73, used to accompany me when I visited his house on Sitakanta Banerjee Lane. He was very affectionate to us. He always welcomed guests into his home. He opened his house to any Vaishnavas from Gaudiya Math, whether they were God brothers or young brahmacharis who were in God brothers and hadn't even been initiated. Srila Prabhupada quits home to be a vanaprastha. This is excerpt from Transcendental Diary by Harishauri Dasa. Harishauri writes, you know my story, tea or me? Srila Prabhupada asked me. No, Srila Prabhupada, I said, intrigued and eager to hear. He gave a chuckle. My wife, she was fond of drinking tea. So one day I told her, either you give up your tea drinking or you give up your husband. Oh, then I will give up my husband. Of course, she thought I was joking. He went on. But a few days later, I left the house without telling anyone. I borrowed 10 rupees from a friend and brought a train ticket and never returned. Many of us are following this parampara. Where did you go? Somewhere, anywhere, he laughed. He never saw his wife again. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur urges Srila Prabhupada to take sannyasa. Excerpt from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita by Satsvarupa Dasa. One night, Abhay had a striking dream, the same dream he had several times before during his days as householder. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati appeared just as Abhay had known him, the tall, scholarly sannyasi coming directly from the spiritual world, from Krishna's personal entourage. He called to Abhay and indicated that he should follow. Repeatedly he called and motioned. He was asking Abhay to take sannyas. Come, he urged, become a sannyasi. Abhay woke in a state of wonder. He thought of this instruction as another feature of the original instruction Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had given him at their first meeting in Calcutta, the same instruction that his spiritual master had later solidified in a letter, to become an English preacher and spread Krishna consciousness throughout the Western world. Sannyasa was for that end. Otherwise, why would his spiritual master have asked him to accept it? Abhay reasoned that his spiritual master was saying, now take sannyasa and you will actually be able to fulfill this mission. Formerly, the time was not right. Abhay deliberated cautiously. By accepting sannyasa, a Vaishnava dedicates his body, mind and words totally to the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead, renouncing all other engagements. He was doing that already. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had offered sannyas to his leading disciples so that they could continue his mission. They hadn't done it. Preaching in the West had proved perilous even for the Gaudiya Math's most recognized sannyasis. How could he, a mere householder, presume he could succeed where others had failed? He was hesitant. The helpless, incapable feeling he had expressed in his Viraha Ashtaka was there. But now his spiritual master was beckoning him over all other consideration, even over natural humility. Now, although he was elderly and alone, the desire to preach just as his spiritual master had preached remained within him, a fierce, though sometimes quietly expressed determination. The Vedic standard and example set by the previous acharyas was that if one wanted to lead a preaching movement, sannyasa was required. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had taken sannyasa to facilitate his missionary work. Lord Chaitanya had taken sannyas to further the Sankirtana movement. Of course, Lord Chaitanya was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but when his young students had been disrespectful towards him, treating him as an ordinary man, he had taken sannyasa. Because a sannyasa is automatically respected, Lord Chaitanya's acceptance of sannyasa was calculated tactic. As soon as he began traveling throughout India as a sannyasi, he immediately attracted thousands of followers to the Sankirtana movement. Abhay turned to Keshava Maharaj in Mathura, and Keshava Maharaj told Abhay to take sannyas immediately. After correspondence with Tirtha Maharaj, Abhay had felt some uncertainty about accepting sannyasa, and now that he was being encouraged so strongly, he resisted. But Keshava Maharaj was insistent. Srila Prabhupada. I was sitting alone in Vrindavan writing. My godbrother insisted to me, Bhakti Vedanta Prabhu, you must do it. Without accepting the renounced order of life, nobody can become a preacher. So he insisted. Practically, my spiritual master insisted. He wanted me to become a preacher. So he forced me through this godbrother. You accept. So unwillingly, I accepted it. On October 21st, 1968, on the occasion of the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada's Sannyas Guru, Bhakti Prajnana Keshava Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada recalls in ISKCON Seattle. Srila Prabhupada. One has to accept the renounced order from another person who is in renounced order. So I never thought that I shall accept this renounced order of life. In my family, when I was in the midst of my wife and children, sometimes I was dreaming my spiritual master that is calling me, and I was following him. When my dream was over, I was thinking, I was a little horrified. Oh, Guru Maharaj wants me to become sannyasi. Now can I accept sannyas? How can I accept sannyas? At that time I was feeling not very satisfaction that I have to give up my family, and I have to become a mendicant. At that time it was a horrible feeling. Sometimes I was thinking, no, I cannot take sannyas. But again I saw the same dream. So in this way I was fortunate. My Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada begins to cry, choked voice, pulled me out of this material life. I have not lost anything. He was so kind upon me. I have gained. I left 3 children, I have got now 300 children. So I am not loser. This is material conception. We think that we shall be loser by accepting Krishna. Nobody is loser. I say from my practical experience, I was thinking that how can I accept this announced order of life? I cannot accept so much trouble. So, but I retired from my family life. I was sitting alone in Vrindavan writing books. So this my god brother, he insisted me, Bhakti Vedanta Prabhu. This title was given in my family life. It was offered to me by the Vaishnava Society. So he insisted me. Not he insisted me. Practically my spiritual master insisted me through him that you accept. Because without accepting the renounced order of life, nobody can become a preacher. So he wanted me to become a preacher. So he forced me through his god brother, you accept. So unwillingly I accepted. And then I remembered that he wanted me to go to the Western countries. So I am feeling now very much obliged to this god brother that he carried out the wish of my spiritual master and enforced me to accept the sannyasa order. Srila Prabhupada accepts sannyasa. Excerpts from Prabhupada Leelamrita. Keshavaji Gaudiya Math was located in the midst of one of Mathura's downtown bazaars. Its main entrance, an arched doorway, led into a courtyard open to the sky through a metal grating above. Abhay Babu entered the matha dressed in white, but he would soon be leaving dressed in saffron, a Swami. Abhay had been living as a renunciant for 9 years. There was no need for him to observe a ceremony or to proclaim himself a sadhu by changing to saffron dress. It was the parampara system that a man takes Tridandi sannyasa at the end of his life. He was aware of the cheating sannyasis. Even in Vrindavan, he had seen so-called sadhus who did not preach but simply spent their days hunting for chapatis. So Swamis of Vrindavan even indulged illicitly in what they had supposedly come here to reject, sex life. Such persons were making a mockery of sannyasa. And there were the caste Goswamis also, who lived like ordinary householders, running temples as a business to support their families and accepting honor and donations from public on the false basis of birth. Abhay knew of these abuses of sannyasa, but he also knew the real purpose of sannyasa. Sannyasa was for preaching. On the morning of September 17, 1959, in the 50 by 25 foot deity room on the second floor of Keshavaji Maharaj, a group of devotees sat before the deities of Radha Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. The deities were colorfully dressed in royal clothing and silver crowns. Abhay sat on a mat of kusha grass beside 90-year-old Sanatana, also to receive sannyas that day. Sitting opposite the two candidates, Narayana Maharaj, Keshava Maharaj's disciple, prepared to conduct the ceremony of the mantras and offerings of grains and ghee into the fire. Akinchana Krishnadasa Babaji, Abhay's godbrother, known for sweet singing, played mridanga and sang Vaishnava bhajans. Sitting on a raised asana, His Holiness Keshava Maharaj presided. Narayana Maharaj chanted the required mantras and then sat back silently while Keshava Maharaj lectured. Then, to everyone's surprise, Keshava Maharaj asked Abhay to speak. Abhay had not expected this. As he looked around at the gathering of devotees, he understood that the common language was Hindi. Only Keshava Maharaj and few others spoke English. Yet he knew he must speak in English. After Abhay's speech, each initiate received his sannyasa danda, the traditional head-high staff made of 4 bamboo rods bound together and completely enwrapped in saffron cloth. They were given their sannyas garments, one piece of saffron cloth for dhoti, one for a top piece, and two strips for underwear. They also received tulsi neck beads and sannyas mantra. Keshav Maharaj said that Abhay would now be known as Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaja. And that Sanatana would be Muni Maharaja. After the ceremony, the two sannyasis posed for a photo, standing on either side of their sannyas guru, who sat in a chair. Keshav Maharaj didn't impose any strictures on Abhay. He simply encouraged him to go on preaching. Yet Abhay knew that to become A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami did not mean merely that he was giving up family, home comforts and business that he had done 5 years ago. Changing from white cloth to saffron cloth, from Abhay Babu to Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, had a special significance. It was a mandate that he had required, the irrevocable commitment. Now it was only a matter of time before Bhaktivedanta Swami would travel to the west as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had ordained. This was Bhaktivedanta Swami's realization of his new sannyasa status. The Gaudiya Patrika's account of the sannyas initiation included a biographical sketch of Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, listing the major events of his life. The article concluded, seeing his enthusiasm and ability to write articles in Hindi, English, Bengali, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj gave him the instruction to take Tridhanti sannyasa. For nearly 1 year he had been ready to accept sannyasa. The month of Bhadra, on the day on which Vishwarupa accepted sannyasa, Bhaktivedanta Swami at Sri Keshava Ji Gaudiya Mutt accepted sannyasa from the founder of the Vedanta Samiti, Bhakti Prajnana Keshava Maharaj. Seeing him accept his ashrams of renunciation, seeing this pastime for accepting the renounced order of life, we have attained great affection and enthusiasm. One of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Rupa Vilas Das, recalls, we were spending a little time with Prabhupada's god brother Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj, with whom he had a very affectionate relationship. He was telling us the story of Prabhupada's taking sannyas, and he said, the ceremony was going on with Keshav Maharaj overseeing and conducting the initiation. Narayan Maharaj was chanting the mantras and I was doing bhajan. But as is my habit, I got a little too loud. So Keshav Maharaj was making a gesture with his hand, palm down, as if to say, not so loud. Krishnadas Babaji said, as soon as he would turn his head, your Prabhupada would go like this, turning his palm up, indicating to chant louder. As soon as he would turn his head, your Prabhupada would go like this, and he's showing, turning his palm up, indicating to chant louder. Then Krishna Das Babaji laughed, as he always did, and he said, it was then that I knew he would be the leader of the Hare Krishna movement. Excerpt from Srila Prabhupada at Radha Damodar by Mahanadi Swami. After Srila Prabhupada taking sannyas, Narayan Maharaj recalls, I would visit Srila Prabhupada many times while he was staying at Radha Damodar temple between 1962 and 1964. One time I went there and he was sitting on the floor on a torn quilt. After sitting down on my chadar, we both discussed the Srimad Bhagavatam. There was no bed in Prabhupada's room. He was sleeping on the floor. On another occasion, Narayan Maharaj recalls, often we would have kirtan in his room at Radha Damodar. Prabhupada played mridanga. I played kartals. He used to tell me how he was planning to go to America and other Western countries. He said, I want to preach as Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had ordered me, and I want to publish BTG in huge scale and preach in Western countries. If there will be need, I will establish boarding facilities for interested peoples. So if they want I will give meat also, and egg also, and wine also. I believe that after hearing Harinam Sankirtan and Siksha of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then certainly they will reject all these things. And surely they will become pure Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.